So, shh. The moment we've all been waiting for. The four Sarky Sods, they're going to do a trap live. So welcome Nick, Andy, Alan and Carl to the stage.
Credit card has been lost by Mr. Samuel Smith.
Yeah,
credit card has been found. Oh, who?
That's me.
Okay, Carl, there you go. Yeah. It's Mr. Samuel Smith. Okay, let's get this going. Hope this works.
Welcome to the Real Advisor Podcast. TRAP. Trap. Please follow us and join in the conversation on Twitter @Advisor Podcast, where you can suggest ideas and themes you'd like the Trap team to discuss. Also remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave a 6 out of 5-star review on iTunes. Doing all this really helps us, which means we can do more to help you. Now let's head over to the studio for the latest pile of Trap.
Yes, indeed, dear Trappists. Welcome back to what many people are calling episode 45 of the Real Advisor Podcast, TRAP, Trap. My name is Lick Ninken. Joining me, not in a digital studio of doom, but in the world-famous London Hippodrome, in the underground, slightly louche, slightly loose, slightly dangerous Lola's bar, are the three other horsemen of the apocalypse! Andy Ultra Heart, Carl Della Voce, the voice widger, and Alan, the storyteller Smith. Now, dear Trappists, this is a live recording of episode 45. When this goes out in 2 weeks' time, there will be people at home listening to this on their transistor radios, totally not believing we've managed to corral a live audience. We can't believe we've managed to corral a live audience. So, on the count of 3, totally spontaneously, casting aside your British Reserve, I want you just to shout out as loud as you can. I haven't thought about this. Maybe Lick is God. Okay? On the count of 3, Lick is God. 1, 2, 3. Lick is God! My work is done. Dear Trappists, thank you for making the effort to get here for your time. Do appreciate it. Anyone in the room got any immediate family who's a train driver? What a bunch of wankers. Okay. We've got people who've come from very far to be here. We've got Lunch Club Dirk, all the way from South Africa.
Here,
Lunch Club.
Lunch Club.
All Lunch Club does when he loves coming to this country, all he does when he comes here he just spends his whole time in his hotel room flicking the hotel lights on and off, thinking, yeah, 24/7 electricity. I remember this. This is good. It's coming back, Carl. Dirk, it's coming back. We've also got international people of mystery from Chile. We've got Chris Emmett somewhere in the room. Thank you for making that effort, Chris. And we have Richard Holmes also from beautiful Budapest in Hungary. So thank you, Chris and Richard, for making the effort. Really appreciate it. Those guys, they're offshore advisors. They work in the murky world of the offshore investment world, and it is a murky world. And they're two of the good guys, and they're very busy. I've seen their diaries, and 24/7 they're flogging offshore MIPS to gullible expats. But they're bloody good plans, you know. Okay, the first 17 years worth of premiums go on initial commission. But those leads from Mitch and Murray downtown, they're expensive. You've got to be closing. I think Chris is online for the steak knives this month. Richard's catching up. Good guys. Good guys. We've got our event partners, of course. I want to thank them. Timeline and Vanguard. There are representatives here from Timeline and Vanguard. Really happy to be aligned with them. In a sea of mediocrity in the industrial side of what we do, they are two shining brands, and we're very glad they're here. Of course, they're two brands at the disparate ends of their growth cycles. One brand seems to dominate the UK media scene. It's becoming an international behemoth. It's going to launch a platform. I mean, it's bloody massive. And then there's Vanguard. Just the 8 trillion under management. Rest in peace, Jack. We love you. Okay, that's it done. I think the hashtag for you youngsters on Snapface, InstaChat, back at ya. The hashtag is TRAPLive, apparently, whatever that means. Stephen Evans is going, where am I? TRAPLive. Okay, right, without any further ado, we do have a show packed full of absolutely... I've got to work this bloody thing now. We have a show packed full of absolutely nothing, so let's start unpacking it straight away with some more high-energy review reads read out by my very good friend, the Right Honourable Mr. Andrew Hart.
Thank you very much, Nick. Yeah, very brief. Thank you for everyone for coming. It obviously means a lot. It's rather surreal. Anyway, I'll crack on with my trademark reviews. First up, it's from a private investor, Ashton 1975, entitled Private Investor. The review is, I recently came across the Real Advisor podcast with an O. I've already got a problem with that. Whilst reviewing potential advisors with an O again, I'm a private investor, not an advisor. It is a minefield out there. But listening to this podcast brings intelligent debate, clarity, sensible thinking and good humour, which has really helped in my search. Keep up the great work, thank you. The meaty review is from George FP 1989, George Agan, good guy in our business. 5 stars, entitled, quote, I made Nick Lincoln famous. Andy Hart, May 2023. It's a story about that, not for you. The review is, this show is an essential listen for all advisors who care about real financial planning from the very best in the profession. Hugely grateful for you all taking your time to share your knowledge and experience. Each episode is more valuable than all the NAC-filled conferences combined. Thank you very much. Being a real financial planner can be a lonely place, and this provides a welcome sense of community. Keep up the great work, and I'm gutted I can't make beer and loathings at Lola's. I'd add sweaty into that. On the 9th, looking forward to the next drinks, and thanks, Andy, for 10xing the delivery, something that Nick gets very annoyed about. 10xing, Nick. Over to you. Back to you, boss.
Thank you, Ultra. Thank you, as ever, for just raising the energy. Okay.
I don't know why I do these bloody reviews. I just started at the beginning, and now I'm in.
You're not alone.
Because you volunteered.
You did volunteer, you cheeky. Right, so let's put a timestamp on this episode 45, with some topical tidbits. Voice, you're going to lead off with crypto in mainstream finance.
Yes, indeed. So in the show notes, because this is all a bit weird, because it's a live audience, there's going to be a link to a Twitter post from one of the Collison brothers from Stripe. And Stripe are now going to be accepting payments via cryptocurrency. And I suppose I thought it'd be relevant to bring it up because you've listened to all of the shows, you know what I think about crypto. I'm a large skeptic. But when you think about Stripe are now saying we're going to accept payments via cryptocurrency, we obviously have the ETFs. Maybe it is going to happen. Maybe I will be proven wrong. And let's just see what this journey goes on. But we did see the price of crypto getting back to 72. It has slipped all the way down to 62. The 72 peak, or back to its peak, was was made after the ETF launches, and it has slipped back. So for me, it's still way too volatile, because we all know how difficult it is to keep clients in their seats in terms of investments. So for me, for now, and I can't see in the near future it being part of any portfolios, I just think that for me it's not mainstream enough, but maybe there's
You mean
other
apart
views.
from the fact that you can't
put your hand
anyway
up, or
because
no?
it's illegal and it's not a regulated product? And
Yeah, but
it's
I
not
suppose
really a product.
I suppose the point is that it is becoming mainstream, and it's only a matter of time, I think. So will it be available? Yeah, I think it will be in the shorter term.
They did say it's going to be fiat cryptocurrency, so it's linked to a stable currency. So the technology is the main thing that they're focusing in on, rather than just random coins. I think that's the case. Anyway,
What is it? Is it a currency or is it an asset class? What is it called? What do you think?
it's trash.
It's not an asset class for me, but this is what I'm saying. I may well be proven wrong on this, right? But I don't think it's an asset class. And is it a
Do you
currency?
wish you'd invested 10 years ago?
Of course I do, right?
Even though it's
You could have
trash.
invested
Yeah.
10 years ago. Some
Yeah.
computer skills.
I mean, you can. It's class looking at the price, and it's shooting up and then going down, shooting. But it did start down here, and it is up there now. So
Yeah,
of course,
that's great.
but that's total punting. Did I wish I invested in Apple when Apple started off? Of course, right? But you can't always be looking to, back the one horse, the one winner. That's not what I'm about. For my clients, that's not what I'm about. So look, it just remains to be seen. I just put it out there because I have been, probably of us four, the largest critic of cryptocurrency and where it's at.
Stripe are huge and amazing. I use them every day. The tech's amazing. You bought your tickets through Stripe. So yeah, they're just extending what they do. So
Irish boys, see?
I was
Richard's
just going to say,
brothers in
no
Ireland.
surprise, couple of Irish boys. My kids are going to the same school as
That's
them,
right.
right?
Your
So
first.
that's my pension
Is
fund.
it too early for the drop, Nick?
That's why you led
Yes,
with this.
okay.
Yeah.
Go on, Nick.
Right.
So yeah, that's my crypto story for this episode.
Okay, so myself and Ultra, I don't know how this happened. We found ourselves at a Morningstar conference last week in West London. Ultra, your thoughts on it?
It was Lancaster Gate. Yeah, very well organised. Great app. I've got to tread carefully.
So far, so good.
Yeah, some interesting speakers, a lot of fireside chat stuff.
Bullshit.
Anyway, the good points. I don't know who he was. He was like the CEO of Morningstar or something like that. He led off with the state of the advice industry business that we're all in. And he said there's some positive factors. These are the 6 points I'm going to read out. You can chip in if you wish. The advisor numbers are reducing. Not by a lot, but they're not growing by much. So, if you are an advisor already in this business, and obviously it's a good place for you to be. Household wealth is growing. I think you mentioned 14 trillion UK net worth. So obviously a chunk of that's in investable assets, and that's going to be getting larger and larger. The share moving towards investable assets, mainly via pensions. He also said rising compliance costs. Again, we all know about that, apart from you, Nick. The only firm in the UK where compliance costs are going down.
What?
There's no one from the FCA here today. And then the fourth point is digitisation and technology. 100% agree with that. That's going to be great. Obviously, that's your little AI thing. Industry consolidation. I mean, yeah, that was gung-ho until some of the latest sort of rumours or issues have been brought to light, mainly following from not doing annual reviews, etc. That not doing your job, basically, which is rather interesting. And he's saying about profit margins still look quite healthy. So all in all, it was okay. We left at lunchtime. You left at 11 o'clock.
It was that good.
I left at 1. He left at 11 o'clock.
What time did it start? 10.
10:50. I think it's actually maybe before 11. I was there, and as soon as I was there, I'm like this any social situation really, parties. I'm there and I'm thinking, why am I here? I don't know anybody. I don't like anybody here. It's like my walk through the front door at home, It's just like,
It was quite interesting.
You were saying that about today.
except
as
for the
well,
lovely
weren't you?
TLP who's over there squirming, and she'll get her turn. Yeah, I went. It was amazing. I mean, I know we get critique on trap, right? Pale, male, and stale. Okay, and there is obviously truth to that because we are pale, male, and perhaps we are stale. This Morning Star thing, I mean, it was incredible. The ratio of men to women was just off the charts, the wrong way. Most of the men were wearing suits and ties. Ollie Smith is Morning Star's media comms guy. He gave an opening address.
He's higher up.
The editor.
Yeah, he's higher up.
Wow. Yeah. Anyway, in his address, he goes, Ollie Smith. My pronouns are he, him, and I was waiting for the joke. and you know, everyone around you like straight faced. I'm going, for fuck's sake. Oh yeah, he, him. And of course, this is the guy who, in my opinion, I think.
We're cutting this bit out, by the way.
He's got a beard.
Who you know, most of us used to read New Model Advisor, right? Because it was worth reading. It ain't worth reading now, and there's a litany of reasons for that, and I think he may be connected to it, in my humble opinion. So, yeah, not the greatest. And we left at. We left at. Yeah,
15 minutes.
This is live, Nick, by the way.
What?
We're recording this.
Yeah, but
This
it's
is
from
the
this live.
run-through. This is the run-through.
I'd like to distance myself from all of those guys.
I'm with Carl.
Bloody love Ollie Smith, man. You can't get enough. Right, moving on. For me, it wasn't for me. Okay, storyteller, you're solving the life of another challenge, apparently.
Right, okay. Well, it's me. As we know, I'm the technology expert of this group. I think anyone in the room anyone who's actually doing our job will recognize some of the biggest challenges. In fact, interestingly, there was a recent survey that I read. Albeit in Strategic Consulting did this survey. Someone from Albion's in the room right now, but they were identifying what the biggest challenges were in financial planning businesses. And interestingly, this is back up the Morningstar stuff. It wasn't necessarily things like fee compression. It wasn't so many other things. Some of the biggest challenges were actually onboarding new clients and supporting the kind of annual review process. Parts of that still remain in the last century, if not the century before, because it's paper-based, it's signed forms and sending them to legacy providers and trying to gather data. So I was very pleased to see an organization, and forgive me if loads of you are already using this, it's new to me, a company called the Pensions Lab. I spoke with my Chief Operations Officer, Shireen, about this morning. Shireen's in the back telling me all about it. Really interesting business, thepensionlab.com, I think, where everything's digitized, everything's online, clients can sign digital letters of authority, submit them automatically to providers. And the thing that got me, I thought, wow, this is a breakthrough. As we know, some of these providers still insist on wet signatures. So the Pension Lab have got FCA approval to effectively replicate the signature the client signed digitally and submit and effectively create a paper copy if it's essential for this legacy provider and use that. And then they automatically chase them up, follow up, We've been talking about AI and technology and all this for quite a long time. We've yet to see some really significant breakthroughs that, save time. We've got people in our company, I'm sure you have, who just spend bloody, half an hour on the phone to whoever, Prudential, Phoenix Life, whatever, you're listening to Vivaldi and blah, blah, blah. Your call's important to us. That important that we'll keep you waiting for an hour. So this is a new piece of kit. You can do your own research. £7 an LOA, which I think is actually reasonable versus the cost of hiring people. People doing that, and it frees people up to do good things. Do much more meaningful client-focused work. So that's my little opener.
Are they just doing LOAs, or is that their first product, and then they're going to go into other stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are they? There's a question now.
Oh, I thought he was telling me because he usually does. I don't know. I've now reached the boundary of my knowledge on this subject. Don't ask me anything else. Ask Shireen or the Pensions Lab.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Well, if you can't take the excitement of letters of authority, the next topic is Dimensional's new Sterling Short Duration Real Return Fund.
This is a bit in the weeds. This is from me.
Here we go.
Perfect for a live show with beer.
Yeah. Ultra, you've got 30
It's quite a complex fund. So we've got Andy to
it's
explain.
way above my station to explain this fund, but DFA don't release funds every day, so it's quite an interesting fund that caught my eye. I believe they've got one in the US. I mean, it's the whole problem with fixed income.
Fixed outcome.
I'm not a fan of fixed income funds, as you probably well know, and they've taken a bit of a battering recently, and 2022 and other stuff. So anyway, they've come out with this new fund that's hopefully going to address that. Any thoughts, people?
No.
Was that your? I thought you were going to explain it. It tells you there's some fun. And
There's
does
a whole
anyone know anything
verb
about
I've got
it?
here, but I'm not going to go through that.
I think
Live
we've got
show,
some people-
Martin, let's come up on stage and explain it.
Yeah, we've got DFA in the audience. Speak to them over the drinks.
I think we have DFA in the audience. I did look at their online verbiage on this, and it just ran to page and page and page.
All right, enough.
Yeah. So, yeah, I didn't. No, I'm not interested really. I didn't see what itch it was trying to scratch. You know, I didn't get it.
Okay, cool.
To deal with short-term
Well,
volatility.
they've already got a short-term index linked thing. I mean,
Yeah, but it's too volatile, as 2022 proved. Yeah, it's a mix.
Okay,
Do your own research, folks. That was very helpful, Andy.
thank you.
Any other gems?
They can't all be bangers. Help me out.
We're just hoping that some are.
Oh, that one is.
we're going to land the odd one, surely. Jesus Christ. All right, let's move on from that
Well, it's not going to be this one, Carl.
let's bring the excitement down now. Let's bring the excitement down. Voice, the Financial Services and Pensions
this is
Ombudsman.
This is a good one.
A record number of complaints in 2023, rising by 29%. Go on, sizzle.
Yeah, I kind of set myself up for that one. Anyway, what I'd like to say about this is that our complaint service in Ireland had in 2023 24% more complaints than the previous year, and they're basically out there saying we want to recruit loads of people. So I've been fairly vociferous about the lack of regulation when we talk about where the UK are, where Ireland are. You guys have had RDR, and you now have the new thing, whatever that's called, which you're all getting.
What's it called?
That thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think is actually consumer duty.
Oh,
Got it.
good man.
And you can all come and learn about Ireland as well now in a minute. But I suppose what I think is happening in Ireland is that the clients or the consumers are, they're actually going to drive the added regulation, which can only be a good thing. And I know I'm like a broken down record saying this, but we need to tighten up the regulation. We really do. And that will bring us more away from that transactional focus to real lifestyle financial planning, and that's where I would absolutely love our business to go in Ireland. So that's why I said I'd bring it up. Plus I've got the Ireland flag behind me, so I had to mention something about Ireland. So yeah.
Yeah, Carl,
Carl, Mr. Popular in Irish financial planning.
Carl's out on a limb.
community.
Carl is,
Yeah,
a fee-based financial planning firm in Ireland, and it's a rare thing. These guys are behind the. When we started doing this Trap podcast, we had a drop whenever Carl brought in it, and it was the Wild West theme, cowboys.
Wild West Widger.
He took offence to that, so we have got to take that out. But you're behind.
Have you got it today?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Yeah. But you are ahead of the curve, and it's to your immense credit. And you're waiting for some put down, aren't you? You're not going to get one, my friend. That's a genuine. That's the one for the year. Right, moving on. Are we done on that?
Done.
Okay, fine. Storyteller, the bulletproof. Oh, we're talking about your podcast. Okay, that's interesting. Andy.
I host or co-host 2 podcasts. One's award-winning, one isn't. You guess which one. True story. My most recent episode. I think this has got some relevance. If you've ever come across potential clients, who say, this stuff's quite easy, I can do it on my own. I don't need you, because all you need to do is choose a few funds and put it in the ISA or pension. It's quite straightforward. And what we know, and as Dan was talking about earlier on, this is more a behavioural question than it is a math question. And the last guest I had in the podcast was an interesting one. It's worth checking this out, because this was somebody who was he actually was an IFA, and he was a financial services professional, and he invested money and he got founder shares in another organization, which subsequently sold out to another provider, and all the original founders and shareholders got a significant payout. And I mean, 7 figures, in the millions. And this guy, whose name's Jim, came in the podcast, and to his credit, he said to me, because I got to know him recently, and he said, love to come on. And honestly, you can learn a lot from failure. You can learn perhaps more from failure than you can from some success. And I've had a lot of people on it who've had great successes. None of them have been straightforward and easy, but they've sort of had a big exit and made millions, etc. And they've gone on to other things. Jim had a big exit, took the money, invested in something else. And don't forget, he's a financial services professional. And long story short, he blew it. He lost it. He lost all the money. He lost all the money that he invested, and what he recognised was this is a behavioural thing. And I just took that as a really interesting experience for all of us. When you have clients say, "I would never do that. I'd be smart." Here's a true life story. And ladies and gentlemen, may I tell you that Jim is in the audience with us today. Jim, stand up, Jim. No, stand up. Stand up. No? I said stand up. Use a chair next time, Jim.
It was a good episode.
Very good, very good. It was a really good episode, Jim. I don't want to say I enjoyed it because that sounds a bit cruel, but I did enjoy it. It was very good. It's foot and mouth disease a bit, isn't it? Just think it, say it. There's no filter.
And Jim,
right.
you'll be working behind the bar later serving you drinks.
Right, Ultra, you've got some shitty conference. Go on.
Yes, I'm going to continue the self-promotion theme that Alan started. You may or may not know, I run a conference called Humans Under Management. The tickets have just been launched for London, 7th of November. I've only got 100 left, no BS. Hum SA is on the 17th of September. If you wish to come to Hum SA and you live in the UK, it's all complimentary tickets for you. That's a Trap Live special.
Flights?
No, I'm still recovering from your flights. Yes, so that's it, really. That's it. Get your tickets. Back to you, boss.
Super. Have you anything to promote, Nick?
No.
Let's move it on, so.
We've not prepared, have we? We've not prepared.
Says Mr. Self-Promotion.
We've not prepared. Okay.
Let's talk about Metis Norway once.
Let's get back to some sort of in the weed stuff. So the 4%, safe withdrawal rate. This canard's been around since 1994. I think Bill Bengen published a paper in the States. I know you're all familiar with it. And then Wade Pfau, PFAU. What's that about? Wade Pfau, and then Michael Kitsis talk about this incessantly, don't they? The 4% rule, and I think there's a pushback against it. I think people are starting to think, hold on, what we do is as much art as science, this world of financial planning. And these people that knock out these reports, they're like lab technicians. They think we all live laboratory lives, not real lead lives. The 4% rule, I think it's crazy. I just don't think it works. And this thing about guide rails, and if the market dips, you bring your income down by X amount and so forth. It's almost as, we're not... It's almost, here's a rule, and everyone will fit into this silo, and life is not like that. And and again, in the so-called show notes, there'll be a link to it. There's a young IFA on LinkedIn, Chris Thompson, who put a post out. He's quite. Why the 4% rule is bollocks. Was the literally so it was the title of his piece, and it got loads of traction from younger advisors. So I was just saying, I think this is rubbish. And the reason I think it's rubbish is because, as we know, as real financial advisors, right, real financial planners. Yes, Dan Haley, you're absolutely right. We can't be absolutely besotted with the cash flow, but I would hate to do my work without doing meaningful cash flow for all of my clients, because it's a conversation starter. And when we do the cash flow, we know there are things coming into the client's buckets later on, state pensions, DB pensions, inheritances, sale of rental properties. We know all the mess that goes on, and there's different stuff going out of their buckets all the time. There's the regular lifestyle cost, but there's lumpy stuff. And to say, right, you're going to have a 4% withdrawal from your investments now until you're 90. It's insane. I've got clients who are stripping out their ISAs that are rated about 6, 7, 8%. But that's fine because it's in the context of their financial plan, and they'll push that down when the state pensions kick in. That's 23 grand a year of index-linked income that's going to come in from Mr. and Mrs. United Kingdom at a later date. So I just think we need to, again, really, really important that we iterate, and I know we all believe in this, I think, and it needs to become more part of what we talk about, that what we do is art as much as science. And we need to develop a tolerance for ambiguity. The 4% rule, I think, comes from this school that says, this is what's going to happen, this will sort you out. And I think it's...
Have you ever heard a concept before, a phrase, trust the science? Trust the science.
Yeah, well, don't get me started.
Because this is the thing, that people highly, highly qualified, much more qualified than anyone on this stage, tell you this is the thing to follow. This is what you must believe. These are the rules. This is what the spreadsheet says. And I think this is one of the reasons that this podcast Against All the Odds has become quite popular, because all four of us are, to one degree or another, still at the coalface, still deep in the weeds, and still having conversations with real-life human beings and clients. And I just always go back to I'm surprised you to know, but I'm the oldest in the group. And because I was well advising in the great financial crash,
But
crisis.
there was no chuckle there at all. I went,
Obviously. Yeah.
And?
So 2007, 8, 9.
Tumbleweed, that one, wasn't it?
2007, 8, 9, when markets absolutely cratered.
Temporary decline.
And guess what? Clients said, I probably will tighten my belt a little bit. I probably won't spend at the same rate as I had been doing when things were racing away.
Their spending plans, yeah.
Yeah, other than the essential. And so guess what? That's real life, and that's what happens. And if you assume they were going to carry on spending at the rate whilst there was a temporary decline, of course they're going to run out or they're going to come against problems, but that's not real life.
Ultra.
I agree with both what you said, Nick, with people that are in retirement applying that rule. But again, it is way more of an art. But I'm a fan of people trying to accumulate their number, their stash, having it as a rule of thumb. Someone in their 30s and 40s, they say, I want to spend $3,000 a month. You times it by 300, 900k is what we're trying to achieve. It gives them a target to go for. It's the FIRE principles. So I'm a fan of those principles that are trying to strip down financial planning to its essence. I mentioned FIRE. Is that a
fire? Yeah, Carl just got a bit.
You woke up. A drink at the bar. Yeah. So yeah, at retirement it's totally different. It's bespoke to the individual. It's an art as well as science. All the stuff that Dan speaks about, we do with real life clients. But for younger people, I think the 4% rule is a target to achieve. I think is well placed.
Okay. All right. So, Wodge, the exodus from our favourites, ESG funds.
Yeah. I wrote notes, so this is the first podcast I've ever written down some notes. I'm never doing it again. It's very, very confusing.
Mate, bloody good. Really good crayons.
But there are two numbers here, right? So in the US, in the first 3 months of this year, 8 billion has left ESG funds. And it seems that the reason behind this is that a lot of investors are leaving because of fears of greenwashing. Now, in Europe, it's not the same. 11 billion was added in that period of time. But what I would urge everybody to do who's working in this business, if you align yourself to being evidence-based investing, and that's what you'd like to follow, I think you need to do some research on this, and you need to look into it yourself. Because there's a lot of funds, there's Article 9 funds and Article 8. We won't get into the detail, right? But last year, a whole bunch of funds went from Article 9, which was, ticking all the ESG boxes. So the funds that stuck that, we are ESG on the brochure, well, they all had to come back down to Article 8 funds, and then it meant that they lost tons and tons and tons of money. So I think ESG, for me, the fund management industry has used it as lovely, nice place for us to kind of rebrand and get a whole load of money in. Yeah. I don't think it has grown up yet. I don't think there's enough regulation there yet. And I think a lot of investors, a lot of our clients can be fooled by it. So I would just urge everyone to just go and do your own research, because I believe that the exodus is going to continue. What's happening in the US is going to follow in Europe, and then what will happen to those funds. So I would just urge caution, and we're always against the whole the next best thing. Maybe this was the next best thing, and maybe it has a long road to go before we can.
Yay!
Normally on the podcast,
one guy who's deeply invested in BP.
There's a guy who's short at ESG. So like getting a few people clapping. Normally on the podcast, Andy is I can see him in the screen going, "Come on, just
hurry up."
So that was nice. But I just think watch this space. I think there's a lot more to happen in this space.
I'm sure we know Vanguard and BlackRock have been pushing back against it as well. They've really taken a step back from the
Vanguard in particular.
Well, Vanguard didn't enter the fray at all.
Yeah.
BlackRock were, it's the way to go, and they've definitely dampened their view on it.
Here's the thing. I don't know whether there's people from BlackRock. They seem to me, they're the largest asset management business in the world. They seem to me as like an organization that followed trends. They were very big into this. Bitcoin's a new game in town. They're big into that now, and they're dropping out, and they're pulling out of all these climate change committees, etc. here's the thing. This stuff is, you've got to remember the asset management business is exactly that. It's a business. It's a commercial operation, institution, trillions, and I mean trillions.
Marketing.
Around the world. It's marketing. It's a lot of it. Look, there's underlying themes. Of course, no one wants to sort of pollute the planet and all the rest of it, but these organizations will see what is the next bandwagon that we can jump on. Where's the emerging trends? What are people investing on? Over 20 years ago, when I was working for Standard Life, I was... there was a company.
Come on.
I can't feed you any better than this.
Alperton, whoa, Alperton. I can see my wheelbarrow filling with props signed by the weed drilling. I was 21 when I owned Alperton.
Just to clear that up, let's get Alperton, which is a take on the Glenn Campbell song, Galveston. Alperton is a suburb of a place called Wembley, northwest London, where I used to be drunk in charge of a wheelbarrow. Adrian Ware would remember when I was doing the broker rep job, and they were filling my wheelbarrow full of props signed by the weak and willing. Thanks, that was classic. When Nick first did that live, and I'd never heard it before, it was great. But I was competing with an organization called Friends Provident, and they had a fund called the Stewardship Fund.
That's right.
And, oh my God, it was, you know, there were just people with the Friends Provident. It was a girl, actually, I remember. She was filling her wheelbarrow. Lady, female, she, her, full of props signed by the weak and willing, war for the Friends Provident Stewardship Fund. But of course, it had a period of significant outperformance. It was great. You could have you could save the planet and beat all the rest of the market. And that's what we went through. Obviously, the ESG funds were predominantly tech stocks. So if you look at your performance the last few years, you've done pretty well. And you had a sense of saving the world as well. But as I say, I think there's underlying issues, of course, but the asset management industry is an industry driven by marketing, and they'll look for what people are buying at any given time. And you're right, the sizzle seems to have gone out of that sector for the time being, but it will come back again.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Tech, I mean,
In a different form.
Close on this. Tech stocks dominating ESG. I mean, it's laughable.
Yeah,
Tesla,
Meta.
If you think lithium batteries are doing anything for the Earth, you've got a screw loose. I mean,
If you think Facebook is the force for good.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So what's next on this topical tidbits? Yes, we've just had one of Ultra's best weeks of the year. Omaha. Go on, talk to us about Omaha.
So this is shoehorn Warren Buffett into this. He had his annual Woodstock for Capitalists last Saturday, 7 hours. Me and Alan watched it, didn't we?
Indeed, yeah.
1.5 speed on YouTube.
Alan and I.
Alan and I, sorry, get my grammar right. It's definitely worth watching. It was a big tribute to the mighty Charlie Munger, who died at 99.9. What an age to die. One of Charlie Munger's...
It's a bit like Nick Lincoln finishing his podcast.
At 99.
Like Nick, if you don't know, Nick Lincoln used to have his own podcast. What's it called?
The Money Hat Tip.
The Money Hat Tip. And of course, he issued 99 episodes, then stopped. That just says all you need to know about
Typical Nick. So I thought I'd shoehorn a Charlie Munger quote in. This is a quote from Charlie Munger on money managers. The general system for money managers requires people to pretend they can do something that they can't do and pretend to like it when they don't. I think it's a terrible way to spend your life, but it's very well paid. R.I.P.
What a great quote.
Thank you, Carl.
You're welcome.
Are you done? Are you done?
I think I'm done, yeah.
Because I'm going to jump in now, just follow up.
Yeah, it does seem to follow this.
This
I've got
article,
another
just
point.
following that out, yeah, you can say that bit afterwards. It's not really a good one. But
Is this a good one?
I think this is a good one, and forgive me, I'm going to read this out because I have to. Now, I want you to know that this is nothing personal about the people involved. This is in one of the trade mags yesterday. And I read this, and I thought it was parody. I thought it was April Fool's Day or something. It is I think it's unbelievable. So I thought I'd share it with you. This is an article, I can't remember which magazine, Investors, something or other. And so it's a bit like saying some of my friends are fund managers. And I know these people, and they're well-intentioned human beings. And this is not personal, but it goes with the territory of what the legendary Mr. Buffett, Mr. Munger, said a while ago. The heading is J.O. Hambro on the virtue of underperforming.
That's all you need to know.
A well-designed this is the article with some of their quotes, but it starts off, a well-designed portfolio should include investments that do well in different contexts. There's nothing scarier than having all your funds going up at the same time, because they might also crash. The journalist says, investors who own the JOHCM Global Opportunities Fund haven't had this problem. Its diversification and value style have meant it behaved quite differently from the rest of the market, and it kept struggling against its sector and benchmark whilst other strategies flourished. But this underperformance is a virtue, according to FE Fund Info alpha managers Robert Lancaster and Ben Leyland, who find silver linings in their track record. There's virtue in underperforming, not necessarily per se, but in doing something different. For the majority of the past year, 5 years, perhaps even 10. Many in our industry have herded towards the same place. So there's virtue in avoiding the herd, blah, 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 blah. And he goes on, we are sacrificing some of our returns trying to sow future seeds. Now, here's the thing. This £624 million Global Opportunities Fund failed to beat the MSCI World Index in the past 10 years, 5 years, and 3 years, and remained in the third quartile of funds in the IA global sector over 10 years and 12 months. Story ends.
But it's very well paid.
Here's the thing. This is, what did I say, £624 million. You've had a quick look at it, and their fees are 0.95%. Call it round numbers, 1%. Yeah. That's a £6 million revenue business, which has failed to deliver on almost any of its expectations and requirements. Hold tight. £6 million revenue is, I'm going to guess, maybe with one or two exceptions, is more revenue than any single financial planning business in this room. It's more than ours. And we are a force for good. We're changing the lives of people for the better. They're actually taking away value. And this is not, we're not getting to fund performance, but come on, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years underperforming and taking £6 million a year for the purpose. And I think there's a big disconnect. I always go back to things. This is people's life savings. This is families' financial futures. Thanks. And do you know what? This is partly what this podcast is all about. We're able to say a few things. We won't sort of step over the line, apart from occasionally Nick. That's been edited out, unfortunately. And I think historically, you know, there's people have been pointing the guns in the wrong direction, really. It's this sort of stuff that kind of gets me going. There's different models, there's different financial planning models, different advisory models, and people charge their fees in different ways. But, you know, I meet a lot of advisors. The vast majority are doing good things. They're well-intentioned. They might not be perfect. This stuff is bullshit, you know, and that's what we're going to just continue to call out, because we have the platform to be able to do so. And, you know, we're going to challenge this conventional thinking and the way, because, as I say, £600 million of crap. Disappointing. Yeah. Any thoughts, Nick?
I think you've said it. Absolutely.
Nothing
Absolutely.
to add, yeah.
Nothing to add.
No, nothing further to add.
No, done on that. I mean, that release is so unbelievable. It is like something Kafkaesque about it, isn't it? It's like an airline releasing a bulletin after a plane crash and saying, yeah, the plane's crashed and everyone's died, but we're one step closer to having a plane that stays in the air. Yeah. It's like, there's spin, man, you know?
I would imagine a company of that size will have layers of lawyers and PR people and stuff. It must have gone through a few people. Yeah. To say, is that okay? Are we happy with that?
Madness.
Yeah, it's madness. It's madness. It's just, yeah, anyway. It was just literally in the press yesterday. Thought I'd bring it to your attention.
Okay, well, we're going to close off the topical tidbits, I think, if I've got this right, with Ultra, an app from Visual. This is very good for an audio. You're going to tell us about an app from Visual Capitalists.
Yeah, a lot of you subscribe to Visual Capitalist subscribers. Yep, they've just come out of the new app. It's a bit more of a social app where you can sort of share a lot of stuff. VoranoiApp.com. There's a link in the show notes. Do check it out. They're constantly trying to expand what they do. That's it. Back to you, Nick.
Okay, fine. So how long into it? What time did we start? About yesterday. It does feel like that up here. We're about 40 minutes. I think it's time we moved on to the meat and potatoes of episode 45 of the Real Advisor podcast, TRAP. Please do leave a 6 out of 5 star review on your podcast app of choice, and also like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are around the 800 subscribers on YouTube, which is amazing. That's the sound of potatoes being peeled in the background, which drives storyteller nuts. Today's meat and potatoes is a recurring one, but it's a big one, and I think everyone in the room hopefully will get some value from this, and also those at home listening on their transistor radios. how, if you were starting from scratch, would we, and you by implication, we hope, how would you design your ideal financial planning practice? We're going to start off with storyteller. Go.
You make
I've got some water for Andrew.
Sorry, thanks.
If I was starting from scratch today, knowing what I know now. So I think you need to start thinking differently and stop thinking like an advisor and start thinking more like an entrepreneur and a business owner. And what do other industries do? And what I know is, because I follow this stuff, I find it interesting. Things like tech startups, for example. What do? Someone's got an app or something, or have some new piece of technology that they'd like to build, create, and sell. What do? So the classic startup model is what they call bootstrapping, which is using your own money. If you've got any savings, use it to get the whole thing going. Then you go to kind of what they call friends and family, and fools, they sometimes say. Friends and family round for raising a bit of money, borrowing money off your family and friends, and then you kind of go through seed funds, venture capital funds, and raise that. And I think what that does is it creates a certain discipline. You have to execute, you have to get things done, you have to get to profitability within a certain time, because it's not just you doing it. And I have to say, and again, I'll just speak about myself, I think there's a lot of kind of there's a degree of, it's a bit amateurish what I did. I just started kind of by myself with my own savings, and it just takes such a long time to get traction. And also, that sort of model, what it means is you can't really be intentional about your future. It's very hard to say, it's very hard to turn down prospective clients in early days because you haven't got enough money coming in the door. And I think, begin with the end in mind, I would try to adopt some of the kind of the foundations of like tech businesses, ones that have to use your own savings, possibly use others. How interesting would it be to have a business partner who's not in the same business but bought 10% of the company earlier on and gave you whatever it was, 50 grand, 100 grand, whatever that allowed you to get the thing underway? Because this leads into the second thing that I'd be really focused on. What I wouldn't want to be is a sort of all-weather, all seasons, every type of clients. We deal with business owners, executives, doctors, dentists, lawyers, anyone at all, basically. And again, my early days were the classic, if they can fog a mirror, they're a client. If they can breathe, they're in. That was the filter. So I'm a firm believer, and I know that Carl's got a difference of opinion on this, but I'm a believer in become a sector specialist, become a niche, remove any competition that exists. And the way you do that is by solving really big problems for people who've got money. So it's taken us, it took us 15 years in my company to get there. I would say now, humbly, we're probably the number one independent advice firm and it's a micro niche for...
Grab yourself a drink, a very long drink. It's story time with Alan Smith.
Should have been the ultra drop there.
Actually, right, got a drink? Let me tell you a story. I learned this idea of like being a niche sort of specialist. One of the people that introduced me to the real idea and really got me into the weeds on this is somebody that's well known, I think, to most people, or certainly some people in the room. You've mentioned him before. Carl Richards. Carl Richards, a.k.a. the behavior gap guy. A few years ago...
Friend of yours?
Very
close personal friend of mine. He is, can I say? Carl used to live in London, moved to London a while ago. Timing was perfect, just before COVID.
For about 3 months he lived in London.
A year.
He emigrated for 3 months.
So I used to hang out with him a bit because he lived near me, and he was talking to me about this idea, go super niche. And he said, I don't know, it's not particularly well known. I don't think he talks about it an awful lot, but he's built 2 separate multi-million-dollar advisory businesses, at different time in his history, 2 different businesses in entirely different states, one in Utah, then one in Nevada, doing exactly the same model. And he just basically unpacked exactly how he would do it, and it's all about niche. His first niche was dentists in Nevada. That's the thing. But yeah, they're wealthy, they make a lot of money. And the second was like real estate guys in Las Vegas. Anyway, he was telling me about this. This is the story. God, Remembering it makes me shudder, but listen. So he said, look, would you like me to come into your office, into your team, and I'll just present to the team about what I did. He said, I've got a presentation, it's about 40 minutes, I unpack exactly, step by step, what you must do in order to become a niche specialist and grow your business really fast. And he said, normally charge $5,000 for you, my close personal friend, Alan, on the house. I said, I'm in. So he comes in to our office. He doesn't listen to this, does he?
No.
Anyway, he comes into my office.
He's sober, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I still used to. Yeah, so do you want to meet for a coffee? He goes,
He might listen to this.
Do you want to? Should we go for a beer? No, I don't drink.
Mormons, wow.
Yeah. Should we go for some water? Yeah. Anyway, so he comes to my office and we got the team together and it was fabulous. And he did this presentation, just unpacked the whole thing, all these sort of demonstrations, showed exactly this is what you do to build a business from zero to at least £1 million revenue and being a sector specialist. Did the whole thing, and he brought his own MacBook to the presentation. Those are the slides that he was sharing with us. And he said, would you mind, Alan, once I finish this, I'm going live on quite a big podcast in the US. And can I just borrow a room? I said, of course. So once you've done, we do it. So, does a presentation to us. Wonderful. Everyone loved it. We all sort of finish up and go about our business. Carl, goes to use the gents, comes back. Whilst he's going away, we got this young kid who, as another story, is the son of one of my best mates. Now one of my ex-best mates.
Oh yeah.
And
recorded, yeah?
His name is George, this kid. And he's a lovely kid, but he's not the most kind of organised. Anyway, he's clearing away the table. Behaviour gap, Carl Richards has left his brand new top of the range MacBook on the table. George is going to picking up all the glasses and stuff. And I took him walking in our boardroom. George just drops this massive jug of water. And I just see that slow motion. I'm trying to grab his MacBook and it would not get there in time. The whole water goes all over it. Oh my God. And I'm quickly trying to get all the water off, shake it off, and because he's still at the loo. And I said, George, what the fuck? Broken glass everywhere, water all over the table, all over his bloody computer. And Carl, so I'd made it as dry as possibly could. He goes, right, okay, I'm going to use the other. I'm going to for this live podcast now. Off he goes, and as he's walking through, there's water dripping out of the bloody podcast. And he said, "Hey, Alan, did anyone spill any water on this?" No. Oh, I'm so surprised. Did they, George? Anyway, that was it. It was an absolute shambles. It was a disaster. We had to give him an old laptop of ours to do his live podcast.
Just to the point of being slightly pedantic, the question was, how do you design your ideal financial plan?
It was to be a niche specialist. He told us to be a niche specialist. I went off a tangent. I sometimes do. So anyway, that's I would have enough capital, so I would expect not to have to make any money. I wouldn't have to take on anyone that knocked on our door or be sort of all things to all people. I'd want to identify a specialism that I liked to work in, and you can't just say business owners, that's not specialism. And I would effectively eliminate all competition, but it would take me 2 years to get to break-even point sort of thing. So I'd have to make sure I had sufficient saved capital to afford my lifestyle, and/or I'd look for investors to get into it, and I would just nail a specialist, sector. And then the whole other thing, and the way I do that is I effectively build a media business. I do the version of what Dan's done, and this is where we're all finding our information. And I become the go-to, absolute no competition expert for a micro niche. That's me.
Very good, very good.
So your free presentation ended up costing you $5,000 in the end.
yeah, I had to buy him a brand new MacBook. Yeah, which was
I remember the story well. Over to me, is it? I'll be a bit more.
I think it's you, Ultra. Yes.
Punchy. Okay, so my first point is following on from Alan's. It's marketing. Marketing being the key thing. Key person of influence. I thought Alan was going to allude to, which is the Daniel Priestley thing. I think it's very, very important. Social media is huge. Building a personal brand. Leverage social media as best you can. Try and be unique, and you need to do it yourself. You can get other companies to help you and assist you, but I believe it's the 80-20 again. 80% of it needs to be coming from you, 20% is the assistants. When it's flipped the other way around, you almost do a minimal and you expect them to do more. I don't think it's very effective marketing. So my first point is on marketing. My next point is a bit in the weeds, but it's what we do. It's our day job, day in, day out. Financial planning. I believe it's absolutely vital. Who said that? hands-on financial planning. You know, I talk about business smart versus client smart. So the client smart thing you need to get right. And to do proper financial planning, you obviously need to do it live, collaborative with clients. That's my main thing. And then I'm going to finally, easy waiting to drop some ultra thing here. I'm trying to straddle it. My final point is about fee models. I think we're going to move to a hybrid model. I think there's going to be an agreed fee and then still a smaller ad valorem fee. I think fees are going to come down on the high end and they're going to go up on the low end. And I think the hybrid model is more scalable, and we'll get the computers and the machines to do all the boring stuff on the back end, the plumbing and the admin, and we'll still have that human-focused advice on the front end. I think
What's
the hybrid.
this phrase, agreed fee? Everything's an agreed fee.
Well,
It's just a made-up bullshit
well,
phrase.
I mean, there's a couple of people in the room that are.
You mean subscriptions?
Subscriptions, yeah. Well, advisors that charge what we traditionally call fixed fees, when they hear agreed fees, they prefer that because fixed do change. So the agreed fee is a little bit more flexibility. I mean, it's framing and wording, but that's everything we do. We sell the invisible, so it's important to frame stuff correctly. Anyway, agreed fees, I prefer to fixed fees. That's it. As a bonus point, it's all about asset allocation, knowing that global equities are the returns, that all the clients need. Everything else is noise and a distraction. That's me. Who's next?
What would you do if you set up an advisor business?
Exactly. I'll let you know. Carl.
Yeah, so I kind of came at this from a little bit of a different angle. Clearly, as you say, right, I'm thinking about how do I set up a financial planning firm that you could scale. And also I thought about it from money being no object, because you're right, like clearly, probably everybody in this room has done the whole one client at a time, and then when I got a few quid in the bank, I hired my first person or whatever, and you built your business through that. So let's just say money isn't an issue here. How do you build a financial planning firm that you could actually think about scaling? Because it's not easy. It clearly isn't easy, and it takes an awful long time. So the first one is exactly what you both said, right? I'd hire a CMO or a marketing department, and as you say, become a content machine or a media company, right? I love both those phrases, right? And you build a brand, and in the brand you start telling stories about the good we do. And I think that's really, really important. And unfortunately, it sometimes takes a number of years to get to the point where you can afford to do that. But imagine if we could all do that here. Imagine the power we would have about the storytelling about financial planning. I think that would be absolutely amazing. So if you're not doing it, we've probably proven in this thing, right, that getting out there and telling stories and just telling people exactly what you do day in, day out, that's enough. It does not need to be really polished. You can make it more polished as time goes along. But I think creating that content, creating that media company idea, I think that's absolutely central to it all. Okay? The second thing I would do if I was to try and set up a financial planning firm that was scalable, I'd hire as fast as you can, or if money is no object, from the off, a COO, right? An operations officer, and have that person in your decision-making room, right? So this is someone who I would say owns some shares in the business. And you set up systems and processes that you don't veer off, because it'll make you, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. Yeah. So if you can always, it's really, really important. This makes sure that you decide, this is what we're really good at, these are the services we're going to deliver, and this is all we're going to do. So I'm sure, I know we all get these, invest in this great company or this great thing, or every single week, certainly, maybe it's even more often than that. And it's easy then, once you decide this is all we're going to do, and we're going to be really, really excellent at it, it just clears away everything else. And then you have absolute clear road ahead. This is what we're good at. For me, this goes back to the point about so I know every single marketing book is going to tell you to niche down, right? I think it's bullshit. I don't think you need to do it, right? And I think that, you know, it is okay to say we're going to deal with successful business owners. Because I think successful business owners need financial planning. And I don't need to know intimately about their business, in my view. I know probably everyone disagrees. But this is just the way we do our business. And if you have, like, okay, we have minimum levels and all that kind of stuff. But if you have minimum levels, what you want as a human being doesn't change if you're a surgeon or a football player.
What I'd say, Carl, on that is, and as you grow your business, you should have is like what we call verticals. You should have a team of people who are just nailed-on experts at, I don't know, tech entrepreneurs in Ireland or whatever, and they know all they go to all the conferences, they read the magazines, they're part of the community. And the other guy from generic IFA down the road says, "Oh, I'm interested in that as well." But this guy, he knows about our equity schemes, our sort of our share options and all the rest of it, knows it intimately. But then, unless the market's sufficiently big that you're restricted, you say, well, now we've got this vertical, we've got this. And there's some of the organizations that do that, and they do it really well. What I'm saying is you eliminate competition. If you are a generic advisor or do a financial planner to a firm, and you're just another financial planner, and you don't know their world, and you're not going to their conferences, and reading their magazines, and all that sort of stuff, you don't know what the news. I was going to say earlier on, we do a lot of our work is with, it's a micro niche, it's media companies, television production companies. I mean, there's only 100 in the UK. And obviously there's not another firm in the UK that deals with, on the financial planning side, the owners of those businesses. But I read the broadcast magazine, I know if they've won an award and all these things, and it just is the glue. What we're recognizing is, and technology is going to make this more and more relevant, it's all about the human connection. And to have that call and say, oh, notice that Joe Bloggs won the award yesterday. It's just part, that's why I would say it's part of it. Coming back though, and just to challenge you, if I may, for a bit, and so I didn't know when we decided this, it wasn't money, no object. It's money, no object, you know. I'd hire a Learjet and I'd just fly with my clients around the world. But the challenge is hiring a chief marketing officer and a chief operating officer is day one, you haven't got any revenue.
Yeah.
That's the challenge. So you're going to have to. It's either you've either got. It's either going to cost money or time. If you've got no money, it's going to take time, and that's the thing. If I was working for a firm and I think I had an idea that I would give this a go. And by the way, it's much harder for those of you who haven't done this yet, because I know this from a couple of experiences. It's much harder than you think. It's, starting a firm from scratch and trying to grow it. But I'd be building my own personal brand on the side. I start a YouTube channel. I do something. I build a community such that.
Yeah.
And that's going to take. So I'm going to say in that situation, I ain't got any money, but I'm going to build a community with my time, my evenings, my weekends, my whatever. I'm going to create a white paper. I'm going to create documents and great stuff, solving the unique problems of the audience I want to deal with. But you've got to make the choice. Most people aren't fortunate enough to start a business with unlimited, money.
Look, all fair points. I suppose the market I operate in is the Irish market. It's the size of Manchester. Like, you say go after all the
is that what
tech.
it is? Size of Manchester?
I think. Well, we used to say that. Well, I don't know. Never mind.
It's a detail.
It's a slight detail. There could be a couple of million out there, right? But it's. But I don't know. Do I? So I'll ask you this question, right? And I have one kind of controversial thing at the end that I want to throw in, right? If so, your niche is
how many clients do you need? That's the point. How many clients do you need to service for one advisor?
No, but I suppose I made the point at the start. I'm trying to scale this, so it's like we're just trying to grow. Yeah. So the question I'd ask you is: your niche is media entrepreneurs. That is. So if a surgeon walked into your office with 14 million in his bank and said, "I want financial planning," are you going to go? Sorry.
We all know what the answer is.
You are.
Probably not right now. But we will soon.
So there's niching in the marketing books, and then there's niching in the real
world.
All
right. So that's an extreme example. If a surgeon walked in with whatever, name the numbers or the honestly, right now, because other people do, I've just done it a couple of times in the last few weeks, and they're looking for specialist skills that we haven't got, and we can scrap around. And my God, in our early days, as we know a phrase, I'll give it a go. Look, I've got some funds in a Swiss bloody offshore, and I used to live in Australia. I'll give it a go. I would rather just say, it's not our bag, and I'll find someone like Chris, Emma, or someone around the room to say, you're better suited to deal with that.
No,
so
that's a very fair point.
I just don't want to deal with
I
every single person.
suppose
Nick does this.
The point I'm trying to make is that if it's, I get that, and you'd be right to, to give it a go stuff that is never ever, you never make money out of that, is never worth it, it'll just become an absolute pain. But humans are humans, and if humans with money need financial planning, that's my view. I'm open to being challenged. My last point is probably controversial, right? So I would hire. So we're all about, it's the financial planning, and that's the core, and that's the thing that matters, and that's where we add the value. I've changed my mind a small bit, right, on the next thing I'm going to say. It is still all about financial planning, and that's where we add value. If I was to scale and I wanted to go after, inverted commas, high net worth clients, I would appoint a CIO, a chief investment officer, and not to say, oh, let's look at this fund and that fund and whatever. I'd just put the CIO together with my CMO, just 1 second, and I'd get them to find loads and loads of ways of providing evidence and stories and reassurance as to why evidence-based investing, whether that's passive or whatever, right? Evidence-based investing, sorry? Timeline, yeah. I don't know. I'm not very familiar with Timeline, other than they're our partners today. Thank you very much, Timeline. We love you. In my defense, they do not operate in the Irish market. Yes, but we can't wait to welcome them in.
Keep going, Carl.
But what our high net worth clients have told us is, we were way too evangelical about the financial planning and dismissing almost, that investment thing, and they want more. And you need to, I think, to be taken really, really seriously. And remember, I'm talking about trying to scale something. Yeah. I think you need that strength in your business, and that's something we're going to look at for sure. But it does not mean we're going to change any of our investment philosophy. It's still the same.
What would this person do all day?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if money was no object, I would employ a part-time CIO.
One day a month.
With a strict remit.
Just not to do anything.
Don't bollocks this up.
Just,
it's all right now.
Yeah. Sit there and do nothing.
They'd be more of a presentational type person, Carl, wouldn't they?
Exactly.
Just bring them out, speak all that language. And
so the way I'm thinking is that obviously we have enough clients now that there's an awful lot of reviews, planning meetings go on, and the clients have told us, but how are my funds performing versus the market? And you're going, that doesn't matter. You're only benchmarkers yourself. That's pissing them off, right? No, I just want to make sure that we're not like way underperforming here. So can you just tell me? So my idea would be that to separate out the financial planning where we're adding value, you do that first, and then at the end of the meeting, you have your CIO. There's people in the audience doing, no, he's totally wrong. He's talking through his hat, right? Fair enough. This is just my thoughts at the moment. That the CIO would come in and go, now let's talk about your investments. Here you go. And it's 10% of the meeting, or it's 10 minutes at the end. But it's straight up, and it's coming from someone who's qualified, knows their stuff, and like you say, really good at presenting as well.
So a niche, in other words. That's what they do.
No.
They're a specialist investment person. What you could do is, what we've got is you can have someone on your team, any of your team right now, who've got someone. I mean, my colleague Graham, he just loves all this stuff. He's deep in the weeds, and he reads all those dimensional papers and stuff. But, and every now and again, someone wants that conversation. And he's a financial planner. You bring him in for that. I mean, from a commercial viewpoint, the sort of person you're talking about is expensive. Chief investment officer.
Part-time.
To say, just don't touch anything, just come and present the stuff. You could upscale or whatever, an existing person in your team, there'll be someone who just loves all this stuff. And you say, give it a good name. I'm a big fan of titles and naming protocols. Call him the investment director.
Correct, that could be exactly what I'm thinking about.
Keane's your man, your colleague.
No, hi Keane. Not for you, Keane.
If you're listening.
He's too good a financial planner.
Exactly. He's our biggest fear earner. Definitely not.
Okay.
What would you do, Nick?
What would I do? How would I design the ideal financial planning practice? I have mentioned this before. By the way,
2 days a week.
Does that not sound ideal? And I know we're talking from the position of having mature businesses, so maybe we're projecting that onto our comments here. I know that it's very hard to go out on your own at the moment with the FCA and getting through their vetting process, way harder than it was when myself and Andy went out on our own, a decade and a bit ago. SJP is a route, of course. There are quite a few SJP people.
You underestimate the power of the dark side.
Quite a few SJP people here today. They're going back to Coruscant tomorrow. The Emperor's calling them. There's something with their charges. He's not happy, Palpatine, having a rage. What would I do? Well, it's pretty much what I did, to be honest with you. So I set out in 2008, and Stephen Covey, right? The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. I only learned 1, which is why I'm sort of moderately successful. The other 6 I couldn't be asked with. But the one he had that resonated with me was begin with the end in mind. And when I set out in 2008, I began with the end in mind. I just did the metrics. And I'm amazed more people don't do this. I worked out what lifestyle I wanted, how much I needed to earn gross to get that lifestyle, because nobody lives off net. Nobody lives off gross. We all live off net, right? We live off net. I worked out what we had to get gross, netted that down, took the tax off. Okay, that will support my income. To get that level of my lifestyle, to get that level of gross income, I need X number of clients generating Y fee. That gives me Z turnover. I'm going to build backwards to build a business to give me that turnover. So I did that. That'd be the first thing I do, just get the metrics down. Have a plan of where you're going, right? Begin with the end in mind. And then I work out your why. Okay, for me, it's giving people money, peace of mind. Okay, it sounds trite. Maybe it is trite. But that's what I do for people. I don't want high net worth. Generally, they're a pain in the arse. They're never happy. They'll never give you the whole slice of the cake, so they've got a retinue of advisors. By the way, you mentioned Chris Emmett as an offshore advisor. I've got to mention Richard Holmes as well, again, because I got a commission share with both of them. But only if I mention them both. But the high net worth guys, they've got a retinue of advisors. You'll never get all of the cake. I want mass affluent people who are never sure if they've got enough. That's my target market. Home counties, coming into retirement, and just want someone to say, Nick, are we going to be all right? Know your target market. Know your why. Metrics first, then know your why. And the third thing, and this has become more important to me, and again, maybe it's with the benefit of having a mature business, but just learn the not for me principle. When you are talking to prospects, they think they're vetting you. That's rubbish. You're vetting them. You are vetting them. If you bring these people onto your bus, you are driving them to financial nirvana for the next 30 or 40 years. And if they're a pain in the arse, it's hard to kick them off the bus once they're on it and you're traveling down that road to salvation. Trust your gut instincts and turn away as many referrals as you're taking on, which kind of ties in with what Alan said about, I'm not interested in help. Someone's got an Australian superannuation pension that he wants to use to pay off his Swiss mortgage.
I'll give it a go.
Because he's selling his company in the Seychelles. Yeah, I'll give it a go.
Give it to Clearworth.
I'll give it a go. I'll give it to Paul Clearworth there. Just be really. And again, the art and the science of our thing, and people think, well, human intuition, that's rubbish. There's no such thing. I'm telling you, it's strong. If you don't like somebody within the first 5-10 seconds of meeting them, you probably aren't going to like them. And I don't like most people within the first 5 seconds of meeting them. I've really honed it down. We don't like you. Yeah, well, it works both ways, pal. Yeah, so be totally comfortable with turning people away. And then in the end, you will get a client bank. Sorry to use these pejorative terms. They sound pejorative, but they're human beings. But you know what I mean. You'll get a client bank of people that like you, you like them, and they'll start referring people that they mix with, because like mixes with like. And if you've got clients you like, the chances are you're going to like their friends, and they're going to like you in return. And you get the referrals off that. Have a scarcity mentality. Don't be worried about saying no to people, because the door will open and someone else will come in. To have a really good I've got a lifestyle business. Andy, to a degree, has a lifestyle business. We're solo advisors. I really am a solo. It's just me. I outsource everything. It's just me. It's a lifestyle business. I only want to work with people. I never want my phone to go and think, oh, Christ on a bike. Him again. Her again. Divert. Because we've all been through, I'm sure we've all worked in companies that are like that, right? You can create a business in your own fashion where all of your clients you like, most of them become friends, and most of your friends will eventually as well become clients. And that's what I say. Know your metrics, know your why, and turn people away. It sounds counterintuitive. that's aimed at the younger advisors who are here thinking about doing it, because they won't be told that it'll be about sales cultures. You may be buying in leads. Christ on a bike, God help you. It's going to end in tears. So the moment you can tell people,
I think you make a good point. And again, we have spoken about this in the past. When I first met Nick, that was a story in itself. That's within the bar afterwards. But being really clear about whether you are going to, because there's I think about 50% of advisor firms in the UK are sole advisor firms. 47% last time I looked, sole advisor. Yeah. So you've got to be very clear. I just thought you're supposed to grow a business, so I sort of started hiring people and stuff. But so if I was doing it again, I'd be super intentional. There's 2 examples on the stage right now. There are amazing solo, Clearworth, a bunch of them. There's solo advisor firms. You're either doing that and being the best solo advisor firm, or you're hiring, you're scaling, you're recruiting, and you've got your 3-year, 5-year sort of vision and plan. Be really clear, because I was very unclear for a while.
Okay.
That's it.
All right, brilliant. Well, I think we've given the meat and potatoes a damn good thrashing. I can see on my Nest camera that Posty is dragging the bulging sack up the drive. There's the bulging sack of Trappist questions, which are still sent in via Royal Mail, unbelievably, hence the Posty joke. However, we've got a dedicated Q&A session after this, so we're going to skip the Trappist questions for this episode, and we'll have a 30-minute Q&A session. We're going to turn the tables a little bit, and we're going to throw a question out to you, dear Trappists, who are here today. So if you open up your phones, and if you can go to this website on your browser, tiny.cc/trap45. tiny.cc/trap45. This is episode 45. We're in May. I'd like you, on that Google form that you're bringing up, to enter your name and what you think the level of the S&P was at in May 1945. What was the S&P at in tiny.cc/trap-live? Keith, that's T-I-N-Y. Yes, okay, you're with a good man. Okay, so enter that. The first 10 or so that get close to guessing what the S&P stood at in May 1945 will win a highly coveted, no expense spared Trap coffee mug, which we will give out at the start of the Q&A. Okay, let's move on
Culture Corner.
to Culture Corner.
Say it again.
tiny.cc/trap-live.
Tiny, T-I-N-Y.
Is it working?
Dots.
Oh my God. Absolute shambles.
Why can't you fill it in?
They could just ask my pronouns.
Okay,
Really?
Are you serious?
I will look into this tech snafu in the break, so keep it open. Sorry, guys and girls. Oh no, I've bollocksed it up. Yeah, no, it's tiny.cc/trap45. No, I said trap live. I said trap 45. Trap 45. It does work. It does work. Tiny.cc/trap45.
//
God, yeah.
You in?
Say it one more time.
tiny.cc/trap45.
Tiny.cc.
Is anyone actually done it? So it's working. Paul, what's the turnover
Carl, we
of
should
your
have handed
business?
this bit to you. You'd have
What's the
taken care
turnover
of this
of your
technology.
business?
Yeah.
It's a good
Amateur.
Right,
Speak to Amelia. She's our tech
What's
lady.
in that?
Culture Corner. Let's get through
Okay,
it.
Culture Corner. Let's crack it on.
Alan, go.
What time have we got?
No, not long.
Right. Guys and girls, we'll sort this out in the break. Right.
I'm going to read it again.
Hey,
I forgot
Alan,
what it's called.
Alan, Andy.
Yeah.
Want to keep on talking?
Yeah,
No.
sure.
Good. Right. Smith, the wealth. This is how we roll. The wealth money can't buy.
Culture Corner, as we know, is books, podcasts, and everything else. Culture Corner.
Again.
The Wealth That Money Can't Buy, a book by a close personal friend of mine by the name of Robin Sharma. Some of you may have read Robin Sharma books in the past. Is it 5 a.m. Club or something? But very good. And he's got a brand new book out. I went to his book signing the other day in London and had a chat with him.
But he's now a close personal friend.
But Robin Sharma is very, how can I put it, kind of spiritual sort of dude. He's in, this other book was The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. I like his stuff. Nick, just so you know, you'd hate it. Yeah, you'd hate it. It's just because it's spiritual and human and meaningful.
He wanted 150 grand to speak out.
150 grand to speak.
Kumbaya, my lord, kumbaya.
Get those George Kinder questions going.
Kumbaya, my lord.
Hug those trees, baby.
Robin Sharma, The Wealth that Money Can't Buy, or something like that.
The Wealth Money Can't Buy, yeah.
The Wealth Money Can't Buy. It's a good book.
Okay,
it's a good book. I recommend it.
Okay, mine is The $1 Billion Loser, The Epic Rise and Spectacular Fall of Adam Newman and WeWork. So this is an interesting story in its own right. I would recommend you get it. I read it on Kindle. It's a great book. It's well paced. Why it's interesting to us as real financial advisors in this thing of ours is it just emphasises yet again how people want to be sold a story. We have this sort of desire to be sold to believe there's a new paradigm, that someone has found something that inverts all the rules we understand, and we follow these people. And people followed this guy Adam Newman, a very charismatic guy, 6'5", long hair, shoulder-length hair, used to walk around his office in a t-shirt and jeans and barefooted, and he was kind of this messiah figure. Basically, he was a landlord. That's what he was. He would rent office space and then sublet it out and charge a margin. And his company, WeWork, they were the ones in London. There's one in Marylebone near you. They're all around the globe. And people got sucked into believing this guy had somehow changed the landlord business model. And his business was valued at billions based on the funding he was getting. Anyway, it came to his IPO. And suddenly these hard-nosed bankers came into the room and said, this is a house of cards. This does not stack up. And it's hubris, a bit like Sam Bankman-Fried, although Sam Bankman-Fried was an out-and-out crook. He's in jail, he deserves to stay in jail. Adam Newman was just a guy who believed in himself. He said WeWork was going to change the world's consciousness. You're a landlord, mate, get a grip. Anyway, come the IPO, these big heart, tough, cold, glint-eyed merchant banks said, this is a product, this is a crock, and the whole thing collapsed. Really good read. I would suggest you look at $1 Billion Loser, The Epic Rise and Spectacular Fall of Adam Newman and WeWork. Ultra, The Algebra of Wealth.
Yes, this is Scott Galloway, who you might read his podcast, another close personal friend of Alan's. He was on his podcast last week, actually, weirdly.
True story.
Like a bit of an odd question that you asked, but anyway. It's a new book coming that's out. It's decent, really decent. It's a strong recommendation from me. He's also known as Prof G, Scott Galloway. It's called The Algebra of Wealth, A Simple Formula for Success. I'm reading it, dusty copy. It's decent.
Oi.
Yeah.
A proper physical book.
Old school.
Yeah, I can read.
Oh, Andrew. When did this start?
I'll tell you later.
Little cherub. Shall we ultra you for that?
Yeah.
Shall we do it anyway?
Andy can read.
Andy can read.
Andy, the ultra crepidarian Andy. He knows about everything. Andy can't be told anything. His name is Andrew Hart. Andrew Hart.
Very good. Thank you, Travis.
It's a career highlight.
Right.
No, I didn't.
Voice. Informed Decisions podcast.
Yes, there is a guy called Paddy Delaney. He spoke at HUM before, an advisor in Ireland. Does great stuff. He has a podcast called the Informed Decisions podcast. Yeah, that's right. I have listened to it.
3 words.
I have. Well, at least I knew when to go to today.
This is true.
There was nobody else left, so clearly it was
that's how
my
you
go.
work it out. It's good.
But it's short and snappy. He does mostly solo episodes. Really, really good. Reminded me actually a little bit like the Money Hat Tip podcast, which you stopped at 99 episodes. But really, really good. It is a little bit technical sometimes, but I think that's part of its kind of charm. He does do an episode on Fisher Investments, so they've decided to come into Ireland. Like, whoa, right? Ooh. And they're definitely the dark side. So he breaks it down really, really well. I think it's a very fair analysis, but he says it as it is. So the Informed Decisions podcast by Paddy Delaney.
Would you say it has an Irish slant?
I would. So go on.
Where's Fisher Stockholm?
And they'll also see that I was deeply uncomfortable with the content of some of today's podcast, owing to the Irish versus UK cultural differences.
every time we play that, YouTube demonetises us from money we never have. It's a bizarre
what does that
echo
even
chamber.
mean? We don't know. You said you're demonetized. Right. You didn't have any money in the first place.
Thanks. Turning off the tap that's not even on. Thank you. Thank you, YouTube. Okay, listen, that is about an hour and 20, and we have got to have a 10-minute recess, and then we're coming back for the Q&A. So I'm going to just close up here on behalf of the Trap Pack. I want to say the thanks now, so we record it so it goes out there. I want to thank some people. I want to thank Amelia for emceeing. I want to thank Dan Haylett for his excellent presentation. I want to thank my wife for helping promote this event.
Details, including a link to the purchase tickets. Fuck.
Hey! I want to thank Craig, who's the AV guy at the back there, and I want to thank Laura, the events team at the Hippodrome. They've made it remarkably easy to book this compared to other events in London. I'll talk to anybody about off the record where not to go. A real absolute shambles of a company. I want to thank Vanguard. I want to thank Timeline. Vanguard have got a fantastic landing page. Please do look at that. We'll send an email out after this, specifically for TRAP attendees today. Great resource. Timeline put a landing page together. It looks like it was coded by Carl, but they put one together. Have a look at that, and that will also be in the... well, you've got to speak truth, as you say.
George on video.
It's really good.
George on video.
Oh, yeah.
We love George on the video. But mostly, again, I'm speaking on behalf of the Trap Pack. We, the Trap Pack, want to thank you, the Trappists. The last couple of years have been absolutely crazy. A mad ride. Thank you for making the commitment today. We love you loads. With that, it's over and out.